This is Heal Your Mind, Heal Your Body with Dr. Schuyler. Discover how your thoughts manifest disease and what you can do about it. Here's your host, Dr. Schuyler.
Hello, beautiful souls. Do you feel like your kid's always fighting you or always fighting back or always arguing with you or getting eye rolls and that kind of obnoxious? They are so annoyed with you. Today, we're going over the fight response and what that looks like in the body. And we have our Karens out there or our people who are highly sensitive to criticism or feedback. If they feel like they can't meet people's needs, they get chronically defensive. And we have defenders of ego. And we have people that feel the need to always protect themselves and always fight back. And what can happen is we can get stuck in this gear and we can't get out of it. And our mind gets on this limbic stuck mode of fight response. And then our body gets stuck in this fight mode. And we become hypervigilant, really quick to anger, snapping, irritable, jumpy, heart palpitations, and very commonly chronic widespread pain, inflammation. I see a lot of heartburn with this. And our mind and our body are not designed to live in this ticked off state of mind constantly. But yet so many people are, and so many of our kids are. And this is outside of hormones and outside of stress about school. They just seem to always be ticked off. So today we're looking at understanding the fight response and what that looks like. And it can lead to this chronic repressed anger and inflammation, which manifest behaviorally and physically. And I'm sure you've seen your kid huff and puff, or someone you know, especially at work, you can see people just kind of getting really ticked off. And this unexpressed anger and rage comes out in massive waves, like a volcano exploding, and they go dormant for a while. When I talk about this in one of the episodes, when I was healing from multiple sclerosis, one of the big turning points came for me when I released this lifetime of hidden rage and anger. And a lot of times autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis do have an underlying component of rage. And retired physician Gabe Armate talks about this at length in his interviews, how certain personality types have certain diseases. And he expresses the same sentiment I do, that emotions and personality types and attachment styles all play a role in anger and inflammation and diseases, especially in autoimmune. So oftentimes autoimmune is linked to anger. So this is more geared, and it does come out in gut too. But what I often see is people with migraines and headaches and GERD or heartburn or heart palpitation are stuck in a fight response. And real briefly, because I've talked about this in previous episodes on the limbic, what is the fight response? It's just basically this body's primal survival response to fight back, to kick someone's booty when we feel like we're perceived threats or we're being attacked. And the limbic system, and particularly the amygdala, which plays this really, really big role in detecting threats and the fight response. It's when this amygdala becomes chronically like stuck in the fight. I'm going to fight back. I'm going to chronically just anger and lash out. The mental symptoms of the fight response have these cognitive repercussions where we become really alert. Think of someone who will never sit with their back to a door at a restaurant, especially people who have served in the armed services, where you will find that they will not sit with their back to the door, or people who have had trauma in the past. This sense of hypervigilance, making individuals more aware of the surrounding of potential threats, like always on the go. Like a police officer will very rarely sit with their back to the door. This is a training over years to fight, to quickly react, to defend. And I've mentioned this before in previous episodes. It's like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. So this poor cat's on high alert, ready to jump and fight back at any moment or run and flee. So today is about the fight response and how the cognition begins to narrow, how our cognitive focus begins to narrow, begin to experience this tunnel vision where people only see the immediate perceived threat right in front of them with no broader perspective. You tell your kid to put the dishes away, they're just going to lose it with no concept of the dishes have to be put away in order for dinner to be ready and be ready after dinner, put the dishes away. It's like this immediate need to fight back. When we are children and adults, any human is in a chronic fight or flight response or frozen. But today, for fight response, no new learning can occur. So if you're sending your child to school who's in this chronic fight response, no new learning can occur. It's not happening. They're hyper-focused on this perceived criticism or this perceived need to constantly defend themselves. And what may seem inconsequential to you, they're harping on it like a dog on a bone. They won't give up, and they will not give in to other distractions. They are focused on defending this one thought or idea. And by far, the most common mental symptom are intrusive thoughts. This repetitive, intrusive, unwanted thoughts about the threat can dominate their mind. And it could be the threat like, I have to get an A on this test, or I have to get the SATs, I have to make the team. It can be obsessing or ruminating over anything. And this dominates their mind, making it very difficult to concentrate on anything else. And I do discuss this at length. We have roughly 48 negative 1,000 thoughts a day. So if we boil this down even further, these thoughts can create this perpetual fight response. The mind gets stuck in this fight gear and this vicious cycle that feeds into each other. And I see oftentimes these overachievers fighting to be best, fighting the disease, fighting to get better, fighting to be number one, fighting to be ahead. I can often see this in attorneys too, who are chronically fight response, fight back, fight, fight, fight. And the adrenals begin to wear down. Long-term athletes, fight, fight, fight. The adrenals start to take a hit. So the most common emotional reaction from the fight response are obvious: anger, frustration, irritability. Someone's really quick to snap. They're always cranky. They even become withdrawn. They get harsh. Their words get harsh. Their energy gets harsh. And these strong emotional vibes that the whole room can feel, whether they're talking or not. Like their energy, their anger takes down the whole room. And they're difficult to be around because the anger seems sometimes really passive aggressive. They may slam things down or slam doors or claim nothing's wrong. I'm fine. And anger often acts as a guard dog for sadness. So when this is related to anger, the fight response exhibits what we see as aggressive behaviors, whether it be verbally or physically, and shouting, arguing, physical confrontation, chronic defensiveness at any form of like, hey, would you mind passing me the water? What, you think I didn't think you were thirsty? It just could be something so benign as, hey, did you take the garbage out? What, are you calling me lazy? Of course I'll take the garbage out. It's this heightened sense of defensiveness, no matter the smallest, most benign thing, seems to strain their relationship, whether it be with a partner, a boss, a coworker, family, friends, a child, any sort of interaction where this person perceives that they're being accused of doing something wrong. They're highly defensive and hypersensitive to any form of feedback or criticism. I had this 26-year-old male patient, and he had a thyroid condition. And anytime his wife asked him, hey, call me back, when you get ready to leave work, or let me know what you're up to today, just something sweet, like she wanted to have dinner ready for him. And he would snap in this defensive anger and demand to know why she wanted such intrusive questions. And when I would see them as a couple, she's like, I'm just asking him, like, I want to have dinner ready when he gets home. And he's seeing it like, what do you mean, when am I coming home? I'm at work. I'm out making money. So he was in this chronic fight response and this hyperactivity, this hypersensitivity, and exhibit as restlessness and insomnia. And it was teaching them both that, okay, he's in a fight response. She's just trying to have the secure attachment and teaching him how to deactivate this response. And when she asked a question, she wasn't attacking him. She simply just wanted to connect and find out what was up. So increased energy levels can lead to this resistance and this difficulty sitting still. You'll see someone who's in this fight response, and this is separate from ADHD, but ADHD and fight response do go hand in hand, by the way. They'll be pacing, they'll be fidgeting. And I had a patient that would pick at his fingernails with such unsettling energy. And he would start a project and he would never finish it. And we would say, okay, did you get this project done? No, I started. And he would say like 5 other things he started. And he would leave this disorganized mess of trash piles and junk all over his home. And it was coupled with ADHD, but it was this chronic need to like fight back and just this energy that couldn't settle. and his mind was chaotic and he was unhealthy and he was messy and he just couldn't seem to regulate his own emotional nervous system or his energy, and he became very emotionally dysregulated, and he would have to get up and leave the room in order for his family to feel safe. So if you feel like your child is like this, and I do see this with ADHD, and that's a whole separate episode, it is this fight response that it can carry over into schoolwork, family relationship, work relationships. So in the realm of mind-body medicine, another really important factor is food. And I'm a huge fan of Dr. Mark Hyman and this book, The Ultra Mind Solution, where it looks at this integrative approach to the mind-body medicine. I have no affiliation to him whatsoever. I just am such an advocate of how much food, especially like red dyes, play a major role in the mind-body connection and the anger response. So this to highlight emotional dysregulation can be exacerbated by certain foods. And food plays a role in our overall health. So there are these somatic symptoms of the fight response, which include heart rate, the body preparing for action by increasing the heart rate and blood pressure. Our muscles receive more oxygen and nutrients, getting prepared to fight back. So it can feel like your heart is beating so fast, it's going to beat out of your chest. Your muscles become tense and tight. People with chronic anger response often have very tight, tense muscles, especially in the neck and back and hips. And this can lead to stiffness and soreness if sustained over time. And it's this unexpressed, unexplained sore muscles, neck, and shoulders. And the most common is shallow breathing. And this breathing becomes rapid and shallow, this upper chest breathing rather than deep diaphragmatic breathing. So this rapid breathing, this lack of deep diaphragmatic breathing can reduce oxygen intake and contribute to feelings of dizziness or lightheadedness. And I see a lot of POTS patients who have chest breathing, who have a lot of unresolved residual anger. And the body begins to focus on this immediate survival mechanism, which takes resources away from digestion. Think nausea, cramping, constipation, dizziness, because the body's not getting oxygenated enough. So this chronic activation of fight response, it suppresses immune functions and it makes us more susceptible. So I talk about a tool hack, so I won't get too much into the hacks. Previous episode get into a lot of really good tools for this. But breathing is actually the fastest way to deactivate the fight response. And if you recall ever watching a baby, especially a newborn, when they lay on their back and their little hands are up and they're as high as their head and it's sleeping soundly, the only thing moving was their belly, and their belly is going up and down, up and down. Well, this is deep, slow, diaphragmatic breathing. And as we experience this fight response, we shift to this very short, choppy chest breathing. And chest breathing requires more effort to move less air. So the medical term is called dysfunctional breathing. And this refers to a group of disorders where it's paradoxical breathing, this upper chest breathing, erratic breathing, breath holding, and breathing too deeply or erratically, like a panic attack. So our breath changes in response to our emotions. Our breath changes in response to sadness, happiness, anger, fear. So stress changes how we breathe and impacts the amount of oxygen we absorb. Lack of oxygen in our cells contributes to disease. So chest breathing is useful in short bursts of anger, running from danger, or fighting danger. But prolonged, you have physiological conditions that begin to happen: abdominal area, GERD, reflux disease, tension headaches, anxiety, even paranoia can come from a stuck fight response. So a better way to deactivate the limbic system is let the air out, like deactivate it. Really focus on shifting down to breathing your belly. Where you breathe matters. Where you breathe matters. So if you or your child is stuck in this fight response, or your partner or your boss, take a notice of how they breathe. Odds are they're breathing with their chest, and you're going to see their shoulders moving, their chest moving, not their belly. So research indicates that people with GERD who practice belly breathing reduce acid reflux. So diaphragmatic breathing elicits the rest and digest state. This can alleviate symptoms with GI symptoms like diarrhea and urgency and constipation especially. So belly breathing promotes a sense of calm relaxation. I know we always say breathe, breathe, but this is why we want you to breathe, because it actually reduces the oxygen in the cells and it activates the fight response. So it's not just calm down. There's physiological things that are happening. And if you practice this belly breathing long enough, it becomes this muscle memory and it becomes a natural way of living. Emotions get buried alive and we need to get them out before they create this fight response. If they're already buried alive and you have a child that is constantly angry, I recommend a scream pillow. I talked about this before, and writing a letter for their eyes only. Getting the anger out is the fastest way to disengage, other than breathing, the fastest way to disengage the fight response. And when you reach this critical point and you start releasing the anger and you start releasing this unexpressed, inflammation goes down. And if a fight response goes on for too long, you're now looking at a numb response. You're looking at autopilot, going through the motions without emotions. And getting a child out of a frozen response is not fun. So I'd rather get a child out of fight response. And if you think your child is a little more than hormonal and snapping back, take a look. Do they seem to be angry all the time? And the book dives into how to look for warning signs if your kid is always angry or your kid is stuck in fight response. This is just to bring awareness of this could possibly be happening. It can also explain outside of the box way of looking at mind-body disease, anxiety, and gut issues. The book Empower Your Child to Heal comes out October 20th, and it really dives into the fight response and how, as a parent, what you can do to help. On the website, drskyler.net, there's actually things your child wishes that they knew and sneak peeks into the book. If you subscribe, you'll just get monthly newsletters and a lot of sneak peek information that you don't get otherwise on the podcast, and you'll get highlights into the book. So October 20th, it's coming out. I'm so excited, and I hope this information helps. And take a look. Are you in a fight response? Is a loved one in a fight response? Is your child in a fight response? And hopefully these tips and tools will help you disengage and kind of slip into a more safer state of being. And I'm sending you all so much love and abundant blessings. Thank you for your time. I feel so grateful you have listened to the end. When we begin to understand how our body manifests stress, trauma, depression, anxiety, and even unexpressed emotions, we then create a space and bandwidth in our minds to begin to heal our bodies. Healing is a decision, and I am grateful for yours. Abundant blessings, Dr. Schuyler.
To learn more about the work Dr. Schuyler is doing, please visit drschuyler.net. That's drskYler.net. And remember to subscribe to this podcast wherever you like to listen.
Produced by Autovita Studios. Connect your voice to the world.